Ahoy VC, welcome to the Personal Oasis. This is the Blind Island, and today we're going to be doing a music review of an album. I want to let you know that this is completely my opinion, and if you have a different one, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Now, on to the review. First and foremost, I want you to forgive me for having a hat on today. It's a pretty chilly day here in Wisconsin, and definitely want to keep it warm. So today we're going to actually be looking at a fiery record. Since it's been so cold today, I wanted to infuse it with a little soul and a little fire, and thought nothing would be better than the Ohio Players' Climax, 1974 on Westbound Records. Now, I'm going to give a little background information on this record, and in order to do that properly, I feel like I need to be talking more about this record cover because there is more to the eye on this one than at first glance. The Ohio Players were signed to Westbound Records back in 1969, and they released a few albums for Westbound, very much in the style of Parliament and Funkadelic, this psychedelic soul funk that was really popular in the early 70s, even Sly and the Family Stone, I would say. They started to gain some more critical and commercial success, and Mercury Records came calling. Mercury was a far bigger label with a lot more exposure on the national level, and they wanted to sign them to their label. The Ohio Players accepted their offer, and Westbound Records felt pretty poorly about that. So, for the album cover, they have the woman who had been their model on every single one of their albums stabbing the man in the back. And basically as a commentary on how the Ohio Players had basically stabbed their own record label in the back, which I thought was pretty funny. And even though I understand their frustration, it's a music business. You gotta do what's best for you and have to keep on continuing to move on. The Ohio Players released another album in 1974 with Fire on the Mercury label, and that became a huge hit. Westbound released this right around the same time, kind of competing with them. And it was all material that was kind of in the can, previously recorded, and released it, cobbled it all together to create this record called Climax. This album has a lot more of a psychedelic feel to it than a lot of their later material that would be more commercially acceptable and popular. I think that it definitely has a lot more creativity around it. Some swirling organs are found on many of the instrumental tracks. The guitars have a lot more wah-wah pedals. It definitely has a more psychedelic feel to it than what would become their bread and butter after Fire. I think that there is a lot of creativity to be found in this album too. It's definitely, you can tell that it's culled from some different studio sessions because you can find where they were at creatively as a band throughout the years. I think that these sessions were culled from 1972 to 74, and there's a wide variation of sounds that can be found. It's still very much in that funk style, but it never becomes turgid or sludgy. It's very wild and experimental throughout. However, that works to its disadvantage again because it is very much cobbled together. It's pretty much a compilation album without it being a true compilation. And there are a couple of songs on here too that have been found on earlier albums. I think that Westbound Records was so desperate to keep the Ohio Players at bay that they released a record that kind of was a best of with extra tracks included, and was a little sneaky in that they said this is an album full of new releases. It's still very pleasing and very listenable, but it definitely has that feeling of cobbled together and rushed to get on the shelves. far as album highlights, again, side A is where the strongest material is found. Their cover of Proud Mary is surprisingly original. They take the material and completely transform it and make it their own. Very, very funky, groovy, psychedelic. I also really enjoy the song Sleep Talk. That is just a jamming, love maker of a song. I also love the instrumental Climax. It's dark, moody, and dirty. It's definitely one of the best tracks that's on this album. And those would be three that I would say are very much worth listening to. My final thoughts on this record is that it is very listenable, very enjoyable. If you're a fan of psychedelic funk, you're going to like this album. However, it's not very cohesive because of how the messy history that's behind it. It's definitely scattershot and slapped together at the very last minute. I would have to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 because it is very skillfully executed, but that is by the band, and they never intended to create this as a record for Westbound Records. And if they had had the time to properly call this record, I think it would have been much better than it is. But what do you guys think? Do you like the Ohio Players? Do you think they're a little underrated in the upper echelon of super funk groups? Please let me know in the comments below, and I hope that you guys have a great day on your own personal oasis. Cheers.